If you're a founder, you know that fundraising is a big part of the job. What you might not know is that Carta is there to help. Carta's new fundraising suite provides startups of all stages the best tools and support to easily issue safes, accurately forecast dilution, and quickly close funding rounds. Save time, money, and make your next round your best yet. To learn more or to get started, go to carta.com/fundraise. That's carta.com/fundraise. Welcome to Inks for Starters with Alexa Von Tobel. I'm Alexa, a serial entrepreneur myself and founder and managing partner of Inspired Capital, a venture firm that backs fearless founders who are solving some of the biggest challenges facing humanity. Now in our 6th season, we sit down each week with one of the best founders on the planet to hear their story of guts, inspiration, and drive. Let's dive right in. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Alexa Von Tobel, and this week I'm excited for you to meet Nami Baral, founder and CEO of Niural, the company building the future of work through its agentic AI-powered platform. Nami started Niural in 2022 to enable businesses to take care of payroll, HR, benefits, payments, and compliance globally across 150 countries in one powerful system. Nami is a repeat entrepreneur with multiple successful exits. Prior to Niural, Nami founded Harvest, a fintech platform that built the first AI superagent to reduce debt for American consumers. Harvest was acquired by Acorns in 2021. Before Harvest, Nami was head of product and partnerships at Twitter, where she joined as an early employee. Nami graduated from Harvard with a degree in economics and mathematics and is an active angel investor and mentor to fintech, data, and AI companies globally. And without further ado, let's welcome my friend Nami. First of all, Nami, I'm so happy to have you on today. And I am so lucky to not only have known you now for years, but to be an investor and a friend. And so welcome, Nami.
Thank you so much, Alexa. It's such a pleasure to be here. And the love is mutual. You know that.
You're the best. Okay, let's start. First of all, what is Niural in your own words?
So Niural is building the future of work through its agentic AI platform, right? In, I guess, a layman's words, right? It's a global HR and payroll platform that works in 150 countries. And if you are a business anywhere in the world, whether in the US or Germany or Argentina or Australia, we help you take care of your entire workforce in one place, from payroll to benefits to compliance to international payments to helping you understand labor laws and helping you draft contracts. Our AI power system does it all. And, Niural is really built for this modern age in which the world is a lot more global, a lot more distributed. In the advent of new technologies, especially the innovation that is happening in the field of artificial intelligence, is really building this need for really ultra modern systems that have scalable infrastructure, as well as the ability to handle the world in one system, right? And that's what Niural does. It handles your entire world for your business in one place.
I love that. Nami, let's go back to the aha moment and let's talk a little bit about the thesis behind Niural. Tell us everything.
Niural is obviously not my first company, right? So prior to this company, I was building another AI-powered application in the financial technology space. And while I was building that fintech company, what I realized is that almost the entire world of financial services, this multi-trillion-dollar industry, is always chasing over a couple of data points. How much does a person earn? In what frequency do they make those earnings? Who is their employer, to really understand the stability, the financial identity of any consumer around the world, right? And that's when I realized there's just so much platform power in this data. And with that platform power, there's so many things that you could do to just improve the business overall, but then also improve the livelihood of people all over the world, right? Payroll is the first thing that you start with when it comes to any events in your livelihood. So I realized that the companies that have owned payroll up until now have been, honestly, dinosaurs. These were companies that were built many, many, many decades ago, before the internet, before any advances in modern technological invention had happened. So I realized that there is this opportunity to build a generationally transformative company to improve not just how businesses operate, but also how employees around the world conduct their lives. So I knew at that time that my next company was going to be in the payroll space. I do get asked this question a lot because everybody thinks that I made the jump from building AI agents to building payroll seems like a not very sexy jump, right? But to me, it is the most exciting problem that can be solved.
Money movement, like managing payroll, is really high stakes. It really matters. How do you think about building trust with customers?
Great question. Thank you for asking that. In any business, regardless of what the product you're building, you're always trying to solve a problem, hopefully in a meaningful way. Hopefully something that is, not just solving problems just 1x, but solving problems with a 10x better functionality. To me, the way I think about building Neural is number one, your product needs to be not just 10x, but 100x better than your competitor. And that's how we have structured the product. So the trust immediately comes when clients see the product. That's number one. And then the second is having your existing clients as your champions. Why do the people that are currently using your product, why did they choose you? Are they going to continue to be very vocal supporters of your technology and of your product? And are they going to, go through extreme lengths to be that supporting voice for you? The way we kind of build that trust with new clients and new customers is we let our product and our existing clients really vouch on our behalf.
I love that so much. You've always been really early to things, Nami. You were early to consumer use cases of AI with your prior startup Harvest that you sold to Acorns. You now are very, very early to thinking about the future of payroll, global payroll. Tell us what you see if we fast forward 5 years, 10 years, and how Neural's going to solve it.
So, this is something that I think very often. And especially because this is not my first company, I always think about what can be a generational product? What kind of product has lasting platform power, right? And doing something like payroll that connects to an inherent system of record that we own is a very, very interesting product to build. And there's a lot of things that you can do with that system of record. Now, how does that evolve over time? We think, and especially my team thinks not just in weeks or months, but we actually have this vision towards what will the world look like 5 decades from now, right? And if Neural were to exist 5 decades from now, what will the companies, what will our clients 5 decades from now be asking for? What will they need then, right? So we try to build with that kind of forward thinking mentality about let's build what works today and what is the need for today, because we need to obviously be solving problems for today. But these need to be things we have to build the infrastructure and we have to build the system in such a way that it is going to kind of transcend time almost, right? Currently, I think we are going through a new kind of industrial revolution, right? AI is just making, kind of seismic shifts in how companies operate. And it's going to accelerate just as more and more powerful models exist and more kind of stronger AI agents come into play. So in my mind, the future of work, it's going to be global and it's going to be efficient, regardless of where you are in the world. As long as you have access to internet and one computer, you'll be able to do things that even people today are not able to do. That kind of transformative power is going to happen, and it's going to happen because of AI. And then the second thing is, in that world, you're going to need really different kind of systems, right? Your payment technology, those cannot be full of rent seekers in the middle when you imagine a world that is global and efficient, right? Businesses will ask for more efficient payment systems. They will ask for more ease of payments. So payment systems will need to change. Payroll laws, regulations, how you comply with those kinds of regulations will change over time, right? Imagine a world, let's say 10 years from now, where there's going to be AI agents as your coworkers, right? And states are thinking about, okay, we used to get, withholding taxes from a regular human worker. How do we think about how to deal with AI workers, right? How do we give protections to human workers in an ecosystem where human workers and AI workers are working side by side? How do you further human progress when there's so much systemic change happening through AI systems? The world as we see it is really going to change drastically in terms of how kind of macroeconomic changes happen. New countries are going to emerge where because of their proclivity to advancing AI and bringing that learning into their population, there's going to be new countries that emerge as tech players in the space, right? That is going to change, obviously, the macroeconomic environment. But I also think that there's going to be a lot of change in labor laws, compliance, and regulations. And states, governments, municipalities are all going to be thinking in a very, very different way compared to what has been working up until now. So it's only going to get complex, more and more complex from here. But luckily, companies like Neural are already building towards that future. So that is something that we are obviously excited to continue to solve.
I love that, Nami. And I think that vision is so nice and clear. I want to talk a little bit about execution. You uniquely are a founder who moves at speeds that I think are pretty rare. For example, in 2023, Neural released over 100 new features. How do you think about urgency in execution as a team? What are your core learnings from building Harvest and obviously selling to Acorns and now Neural? How do you think about speed as a founder?
Obviously, speed is important to any startup because it's really about the speed of iteration, the speed of solving problems for your clients, and really building something that is so much better, but being able to build it fast and bring it to the market fast, right? For me, it all starts with the people who are building the team, right? We tend to hire very, very carefully. And we tend to hire for two things. One, extra ability in terms of this definition of 1x versus 10x people. We look for 10x people, whether that's in engineering or operations or simply customer support. People who go above and beyond and people who have that business acumen is what we look for. But then more importantly, I think within those kinds of people that we hire, I hire really low ego, high work ethic people, right? To me, hiring no asshole rule is a very, very important rule in my company, because I think when you craft lean but mighty teams, you bring really talented people and they're all low ego and high caliber. They can work together at a speed that others cannot. But then also being able to put challenging projects in front of the team, like building monotony is obviously not something that people excel at, right? But if you bring really interesting problems in front of them, and if you build it in the context of, hey, this is something that we're going to build not just for today, but for the next 50, 70 years, then you have a very, very different concept of this agency that you bring into your team. And so your team acts more like owners rather than employees. And suddenly everybody is thinking like a founder, everybody is thinking like an owner. And so, it just builds a very different kind of camaraderie. And that in itself brings more productivity, I think. And I think that is the recipe to how we have been able to build so many things quickly. The other component of this is the non-human element. Obviously, we have a lot of experience in building AI products, and AI is at the core DNA of Neural. We leverage AI for automation and efficiency in all components within Neural. So that allows us to move at a speed that I think a typical company that may not have that kind of expertise is not able to.
Nami, let's talk a little bit about your product differentiation. One of the things I admire about you is you have a point of view, which is that the world will only continue to get more and more global for payroll, and we'll use agentic AI and crypto, et cetera. And you were like, let's reimagine payroll entirely with a full new platform. Let's get into the nitty gritty. What are the things that sets Neural apart from your competitors today?
We have rethought everything from the infrastructure, the architecture, the integration of different kinds of products, the modularity of how these products work with each other, right? But then more importantly, we have really kind of rebuilt the rails. A lot of our competitors today tend to provide either piecemeal solutions, right? So many of them tend to either only do US payroll or only provide US PEO services, or are only able to do EOR or contractor management platforms, which means a typical mid-market size company in the US today may be using somewhere between 6 to 10 different tools to manage their workforce in multiple countries, right? Versus Neural is built as one integrated AI-powered system where everything connects to each other. So if you need US payroll, it exists within the Neural system. If you need access to top-notch health benefits and you want to leverage our PEO module, it exists in the same system. It's a simple switch on and off. You suddenly want to hire contractors in 10 different countries, you're able to do that simply within 2 minutes in the Neural platform. And then if you want to, run payroll through your own entities internationally, you're also able to do that in the Neural system, right? So the integration of different kinds of components and bringing all of these things in one system for one unified system of record, as well as unified reporting and business intelligence, is extremely crucial, and our competitors do not have that ability. The second thing is, when we look at the world globally, we look at how do payment and commerce flows happen in and out of businesses? How do you pay your employees? How do you pay your contractors? How do you send payments to your entities internationally, right? With our competitors, they tend to use intermediaries, right? Which means they do not own these payment systems, and they're essentially paying rent to these intermediaries whenever they're facilitating these payments internationally or within the US. In our case, we own the integrated payments layer in the US and in 150 countries around the world, which means we are directly connected with large and small banks in the US. We have ultimate redundancy in our systems, as well as we have eliminated intermediaries in terms of cross-border money transfer in 150 countries, which means we are able to pass the savings, but then also provide actual efficient, quick payments on behalf of our clients to contractors and employees all over the world. So because of all of those things, Neural is truly the only wholly integrated system which is able to provide all of these capabilities in one platform. Consolidation is obviously our differentiator, but the rails in which all of this money movement and compliance ecosystem happens are also net new, which is something that our competitors don't have.
And we'll be right back after a message from our sponsors. Alexa here. Not only do I get the opportunity to speak with all types of founders on For Starters, but I'm a repeat founder myself. We all know how vital fundraising is to a startup. Carta knows this too. That's why they had founders in mind when they created their fundraising suite, providing tools and support to take the friction out of fundraising. They save founders time and money, allowing you to focus on your goals, not the admin work needed to close a round. From simply issuing safes to quickly receiving funds, Carta Fundraising Suite helps their cap table customers raise a better fundraising round. To learn more or to get started, go to carta.com/fundraise. That's carta.com/fundraise. Let's transition a little bit to you, Nami. You grew up in Nepal. Can you go back to your childhood and think about something that happened that you almost directly connect to you being so talented and capable as an entrepreneur?
I think a lot of it has to do with the environment that I was raised in versus the environment I was born into. So let me elaborate on that, right? So Nepal 30 years ago was a very different place. It is still one of the lesser developed countries in the world, but imagine 30 years ago, it was a whole other ball game, right? And then I wasn't even born in the capital. I was born in a place kind of closer to the mountains, in a conservative family, in a very, very conservative times. The environment that I was born into was the kind of environment in which, girls were not favored. Boys were the preferred child in that environment, very patriarchal society. Girls didn't have access to good education. Girls were groomed for marriage, and that was the ultimate focus, get married to somebody who's going to take care of you, have kids, take care of the household. That was the environment that I was born into, versus the environment that my parents presented for me. Despite they themselves growing in that culture and the world around them was very similar, they always thought that I could do so many things if I could just get the same kind of access as other boys do. So typically at that time, girls would go into government schools and gendered schools. My mom was adamant on sending me to the same schools that boys went to, and the classes had to be non-gendered classes, things like that, so that I could get access to equal opportunities, so that I could see the world as if I'm not a girl, but I'm just, I'm seeing the world as if I have no restrictions, right? From the very beginning, I was taught that the world is my oyster and I will be able to do anything if I put my mind and hard work against it. There is no substitute for hard work. You have to work hard, but you should not be putting a ceiling on your dreams. That's what my mom and dad instilled in me from very, very, very beginning. I remember I was probably in grade school at that time, and my mom would continuously tell me, you can do anything, right? And so I think that was the kind of crucible moment for me where I felt like I should really, really not limit myself to what my surroundings dictate.
I love that so much. And I feel like I grew up in a similar household. Talk a little bit about working with your husband, Nabin, as a co-founder,
Mhm,
your brother, Robin.
mhm.
I mean, that's a lot of family in one company.
Yeah.
How do you make it work?
Yes, yes. I struggled a lot with that particular decision, right? Because we didn't all have to work in the same company. We had already gone through liquidity events. The reason we are building this company is much bigger than us, or much bigger than just like, hey, let's just build a successful startup. So it meant giving not just 100%, but going literally all in terms of your mind, your kind of physical attention, your mental attention, and just giving all of you to the business itself. Now, that is difficult to do as a mother. When you have a family, it is very difficult to balance those things. So I realized that at the time when I started my last company, in which he was only helping me part time with that business, I was the solo founder of that business. I realized at that time that your spouse is your co-founder no matter whether they are on the cap table or not. They work next to you day in and day out, especially in a post-COVID environment where we're all working from home and all of that, right? Like, you see them every single day, you go to them, you express your frustrations, you express your happiness, you ask them for advice, and they support you day in and day out. So I had already realized that my spouse was helping me, and it was actually, really contributing to my success because there was somebody that I could just share all of these things to. And then my last company, just because I was a solo founder in that company, it was a very isolating experience as well. So I wanted to make sure that there are people that I can entirely trust and make sure that not just me, but they themselves are going to give their 200% to the company. Right now, there's not that many people in the world that I can dictate that to. But my husband and my brother, luckily, they also have the skill set to be a founder too, right? That is also obviously something that I feel very, very privileged to have, because there could be interest in making them co-founders, but if they didn't have the skill set, then it would be a moot point, right? But in my case, I'm very, very lucky to have a spouse and family that is not only supportive, but is also extremely skilled and can contribute meaningfully, even more so than I do, to the business.
It's just so true, Nami. It's just so, so, so true, which is whether your husband, partner is in the cap table or not, they are building the business with you. Nami, as a repeat entrepreneur, what do you think are the most important skill sets for success?
I think resilience is super important. There's a lot of obviously podcasts like these, right? For example, where you see a successful founder such as yourself talking about all of these things. That's like, what people tend to see externally. And it may seem very glamorous to other founders, right, who are just starting out. But a founder's journey is just so full of struggles day in and day out. Each day is a roller coaster. So you really, really need to build that resilience and be able to just, for lack of a better word, just be a cockroach, right? Like, withstand the test of times, be able to just iterate until you get to a point where nothing other than success is the option, right? To be able to do that, you just need to have massive endurance. You need to be very resilient, and you need to have that kind of mentality every single day. You also need to have unrelenting passion for why you are doing what you're doing. So it needs to be something bigger than money, I think, for you to really, really be successful.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's right. And I do think it's something bigger than money. You've got to be motivated for something else. Also, I really wish we could come up with a more elegant cockroach analogy. I want to end on one question, and then we're going to move to our quick fire round, which is, what is sacred in building a company?
Three things come to mind. Number one is building with integrity. That's just super, super important when you're building something that is as high stakes as payroll and HR. It's just a very sensitive business. So building with integrity is super critical. Second, building for the long term. not just building things for the sake of building something that is only going to be relevant for a couple of months or years, but really building for the long term is important, especially if you have this desire to just create meaningful change over the long term. And then the third thing is intense customer focus, regardless of what kind of company you're building, whether it's B2C, B2B. The first duty of a founder is, I think, to the clients that have trusted you with their business. And so making sure that they are happy and whatever they need is supported with, I think that is super important. So I've tried to kind of instill in all of these things when I build a Neural, and that is the same thing that I do with any company.
I love that. Nami, I'm going to move to the quickfire round. First thing that comes to mind, what is a motto you live by?
Motto I live by. It's really interesting. It's like sort of a Zen approach from a motto perspective to kind of keep me grounded. Success is never final and failure is never fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. I think it was Winston Churchill who said that. I think it is so important to make sure that you are not like extremely exuberant when you're achieving success and you are not beating yourself up when you experience a failure, because you go through those ebbs and flows so many times as a founder. Courage to continue, that counts.
I love that, Nami. What is an interview question you like to ask to figure out if somebody is the right person for your team?
I'm one of those people who really values intellectual curiosity. So I tend to ask people, either teach me something or what was the last thing that you learned, just to get a sense of what are the things that they spend time with net new learning. And that tells you so much about people, right? It doesn't matter what new thing you are learning, but it gives you an idea of how intellectually curious you are. What are the things that you think are worth learning, and what phase of that curiosity you are in at any given interview process. So you can kind of help nurture that kind of curiosity further if they were to come into the role. And I think that has helped me really identify even hidden things about, sometimes people come in for one role and then they're like kind of built and amazing for this other role. It helps me identify those character and personality traits. So really love asking that question with people. And then I end up learning something from the interview too, which is always nice.
I love it. If you think about one pinch me moment in your career to date, what was it?
Oh, it was the IPO day for Twitter. I had joined Twitter very early through the acquisition of another startup, and I had seen Twitter when it was very small. That was a very, very interesting moment because I got to see the different growth stages a company can be, right? And I obviously was a participant and a facilitator in that growth of Twitter, but it gave me a whole new perspective on how to think about companies as you scale pre-IPO, but then also how does a company, succeed in a post-IPO world, the kind of drama that tends to come for companies like Twitter in a public ecosystem and whatnot. But that pinch me moment, the day that iconic bird logo went on the stock exchange, it was mind-blowing.
Cool. Nami, I love it. And finally, Nami, what's one thing you want us to know about?
Well, I'm actually very excited because this week we are launching our latest super agent called Compliance Counselor. Niural, as you know, is an agentic AI powered platform, and we are very passionate about building high precision super agents that actually work in highly sensitive cases. So if you are a company that is looking to hire all around the world and need guidance on compliance, labor laws, as well as the ability to draft contracts for 150 countries around the world, you now not only have the Neural platform support, but you also have the support of our agentic AI called Compliance Counselor to be able to do that. So just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware, and you can go ahead to Niural.com to try it out.
Thank you so much, Nami. Everybody out there, thank you so much for joining us today. If you want to learn more, please check out Niural.com. That's Niural.com. And you can join us next week for a new episode of For Starters with Alexa Von Tobel. Nami, I'm rooting for you. You are such a special founder. I can't wait to see where you take Niural.
Thank you so much for having me, Alexa.